Friends, if you want to watch the upcoming animated blockbuster How to Train Your Dragon 2025 in English, then do like this video right now. And if you're visiting our channel Facts and Review for the very first time, don't forget to subscribe and press the bell icon so you never miss an update. In today's video, we're going to talk about the highly anticipated movie How to Train Your Dragon 2025. What is this movie about? Where can you watch it? All the latest and exciting facts. We'll cover everything in this video. I'll also tell you on which OTT platform or satellite channel this movie will be released, so stay tuned. We'll talk in detail about the technical department, music, direction, animation quality, pre-production, filming, post-production, budget, and expected box office collection of this film. Not only that, we'll also give you a sneak peek into the story, and I'll share a quick review as well. Apart from the storyline, we'll discuss the cast and characters, who's playing which role, how the actors are performing, and what new dragons and adventures we'll get to see this time. So my friends, I request you to watch this video till the end. It's going to be an exciting ride. So, let's begin the video. Let me know if you'd like this translated into Urdu or want a version with dramatic voiceover style pacing. The 2025 live-action adaptation of How to Train Your Dragon, directed by Dean Debois, reimagines the beloved animated classic with a blend of emotional depth and visual realism. Starring Mason Thames as Hiccup, Nico Parker as Astrid, and Gerard Butler reprising his role as Stoic the Vast, the film retains the core narrative of the original while offering a fresh cinematic experience. Tribute movies. +9. Polygon. +9. What to watch. +9. Idea Wiki. +9. Teen Vogue. +9. Wikipedia. +9. Narrative structure and story progression. The film follows a conventional three-act structure, chronicling Hiccup's transformation from an outcast to a hero who bridges the divide between Vikings and dragons. Rotten Tomatoes. Act I, The Outcast and the Night Fury. Set on the island of Berk, where dragons are seen as enemies, Hiccup, the inventive yet misunderstood son of Chief Stoic, struggles to fit into his tribe's warrior culture. During a dragon raid, he injures a rare Night Fury dragon but, upon finding it helpless, chooses compassion over tradition, sparing its life. This act of mercy leads to a secret friendship with the dragon he names Toothless. Tribute movies. +3. Reddit. +3. GerardButler.net. +3. Idea Wiki. +4. Tribute movies. +4. Rotten Tomatoes. +4. What to watch. Act 2, Building bonds and challenging norms. As Hiccup and Toothless develop trust, Hiccup gains insights into dragon behavior, realizing they are not the mindless beasts his people believe them to be. He applies this knowledge during dragon training sessions, impressing his peers and catching the attention of Astrid. However, his unconventional methods and secret bond with a dragon put him at odds with his father and the village's traditions. GerardButler.net. +4. Reddit. +4. Tribute movies. +4. Idea Wiki. Act 3, Confrontation and Resolution. The discovery of the dragon's nest and the emergence of a colossal threat known as the Red Death force Hiccup to reveal his alliance with Toothless. Initially met with betrayal, Hiccup eventually earns his father's trust. In a climactic battle, Hiccup and Toothless confront the Red Death, leading to its defeat. Hiccup loses his leg in the process, symbolizing the sacrifices made for peace. The film concludes with Berk embracing a new era where humans and dragons coexist harmoniously. GerardButler.net. +6. Idea Wiki. +6. Key facts to be aware of. +6. Counterclockwise arrows narrative techniques and perspective. The story unfolds linearly, maintaining a clear progression from conflict to resolution. While primarily told from Hiccup's perspective, the film delves into the experiences of other characters, such as Astrid and Stoic, providing a well-rounded narrative. The live-action format enhances the emotional gravity of the story, allowing for more nuanced performances and realistic depictions of the dragons. People.com. +5. Polygon. +5. Wikipedia. +5. Key turning points. Hiccup's decision to spare Toothless. This act of compassion sets the foundation for the central theme of understanding and challenges the societal norms of Berk. Key facts to be aware of. +6. 9 meters. +6. Tribute movies. +6. Revelation of the dragon's true nature. Hiccup's discoveries about dragon behavior shift the narrative, positioning him as a bridge between two worlds. Confrontation with the Red Death. The battle against this formidable foe serves as the ultimate test of the newfound alliance between humans and dragons. Performing arts' emotional and thematic impact. The film explores themes of empathy, identity, and the courage to challenge entrenched beliefs. Hiccup's journey resonates as a tale of personal growth and the transformative power of friendship. The live-action adaptation amplifies these themes, offering a more visceral connection to the characters' struggles and triumphs. Key facts to be aware of. +1. What to watch. +1. Clapperboard conclusion. How to Train Your Dragon, 2025, successfully translates the animated classic into a live-action format, preserving its heart while enhancing its emotional and visual depth. The film stands as a testament to the enduring power of storytelling that bridges generations and mediums. Certainly. Here is a detailed third-person analysis of the character development in the 2025 live-action adaptation of How to Train Your Dragon. #character development in How to Train Your Dragon, 2025. The live-action version of How to Train Your Dragon, 2025, brings renewed emotional depth to the characters audiences have long loved in animated form. With the same creative vision under Dean DeBlois and a new, expressive cast, the film emphasizes personal growth, inner conflict, and meaningful relationships, key aspects that shape the story's heart and soul. Dragon Hiccup Horrendous Haddock 3, played by Mason Thames. Hiccup begins as a physically weak but intellectually gifted Viking boy who feels out of place in a tribe that idolizes brute strength and dragon slaying. His arc is a classic hero's journey, a transformation from misfit to visionary leader. Growth. Hiccup undergoes one of the most significant transformations in the film. Initially desperate to gain his father's approval, he tries to conform to the Viking ideals of masculinity and valor. However, after encountering and sparing Toothless, he forges a new path, one rooted in empathy, intellect, and peaceful coexistence. Layering. The live-action portrayal adds more emotional nuance to Hiccup's inner struggle, his longing for acceptance, fear of rejection, and eventual self-confidence. His prosthetic leg, after the Red Death battle, becomes a symbol of both sacrifice and maturity. Stoic the Vast, played by Gerard Butler. Stoic is initially portrayed as a strong, stubborn chief and father, deeply entrenched in Viking tradition and belief in the threat dragons pose. His arc is one of realization, humility, and eventual acceptance of a new worldview. Growth. At first, Stoic is emotionally distant from Hiccup, unable to understand his son's perceived weakness. However, through Hiccup's bravery and unconventional thinking, Stoic comes to appreciate the importance of change and ultimately embraces his son's ideals, allowing peace between dragons and humans. Layering. His internal conflict, between duty as a chief and love as a father, is far more pronounced in the live-action version. This adds greater emotional weight to their reconciliatory moments. Dagger Astrid Hofferson, played by Nico Parker. Astrid begins as a disciplined, competitive Viking trainee who sees Hiccup as weak and unworthy. Her arc follows a shift from skepticism to admiration and emotional connection. Growth. As Astrid discovers Hiccup's bond with Toothless, her worldview is challenged. She becomes an important ally, not only romantically but ideologically. She bridges the gap between Hiccup's vision and the Viking way, helping others in the tribe accept a new future. Layering. Astrid's growth is more complex in the live-action format, as she wrestles with her own pride, loyalties, and fears. Her transition from competitor to partner is organically portrayed, giving her more agency and emotional depth. Paw Prince Toothless, the Night Fury. Although a dragon, Toothless functions as both a mirror and a catalyst for Hiccup's development. From a feared beast to a loyal companion, his arc showcases themes of trust and connection. Growth. Toothless transforms from a defensive creature into an emotionally intelligent being, capable of understanding, protecting, and even sacrificing for Hiccup. The bond between dragon and rider is central to the emotional core of the film. Layering. The live-action animation brings lifelike emotion to Toothless, from subtle eye movements to body language, deepening the audience's emotional investment. He evolves from an enigma to a beloved character with clear personality traits, playful, loyal, and fiercely protective. Supporting characters, Gobber, Snotlout, Fishlegs, Roughnut and Toughnut. Arc and function. These characters serve both comedic and narrative purposes. Gobber acts as a mentor figure, offering comic relief and occasional wisdom. The other young Viking trainees each have small arcs, transitioning from bullies and skeptics to respectful allies of Hiccup. Growth. Although their transformations are not as deep, they support the overarching theme of changing cultural perspectives. Their acceptance of dragons symbolizes a generational shift. Speech balloon relationships that shape the narrative. Hiccup and Stoic. The central father-son dynamic forms the emotional backbone of the story. Their journey from estrangement to mutual respect reflects larger themes of tradition versus change. Hiccup and Astrid. Their relationship matures from rivalry to partnership, representing the harmony of strength and compassion. Hiccup and Toothless. This is the heart of the film. It showcases trust, loyalty, and the power of empathy, themes that extend to the wider Viking world. Motivations and emotional impact. Each character's motivation is clearly established. Hiccup wants to be accepted for who he is. Stoic wants to protect his people and legacy. Astrid seeks honor and strength, but learns to value peace and partnership. Toothless seeks freedom and trust but finds family and connection. These motivations drive the narrative and amplify the emotional resonance of each character's choices, leading to a deeply satisfying resolution. Clapperboard conclusion. The 2025 live-action adaptation of How to Train Your Dragon elevates character development beyond its animated predecessor by introducing emotional subtlety, realism, and layered performances. Each major character undergoes meaningful transformation, and their relationships and growth form the emotional engine of the story. The film doesn't just tell a story about dragons, it tells a deeply human tale about acceptance, identity, and the courage to change. Let me know if you'd like a breakdown video script or a visual character arc chart next. Mason Thames as Hiccup Horrendous Haddock 3. Mason Thames delivers a standout performance as Hiccup, capturing the character's evolution from an awkward outsider to a courageous leader. Critics have praised Thames for embodying Hiccup's vulnerability and determination, with Scott Menzel describing him as the definition of perfect casting. His portrayal resonates deeply, particularly in scenes depicting Hiccup's bond with Toothless, evoking strong emotional responses from audiences. The Omen Media. +11. 9 meters. +11. Mirrormagazine.co.uk. +11. Mirrormagazine.co.uk. +6. Digital Spy. +6. The Omen Media. +6. Nico Parker as Astrid Hofferson. Nico Parker brings strength and nuance to the role of Astrid, Hiccup's close companion and eventual love interest. Her performance balances Astrid's fierce warrior spirit with moments of vulnerability, contributing significantly to the film's emotional resonance. Critics have noted Parker's dynamic portrayal as a highlight, enhancing the character's depth and relatability. Mirrormagazine.co.uk. +6. 9 meters. +6. People.com. +6. Comicbookmovie.com. Gerard Butler as Stoic the Vast. Reprising his role from the animated trilogy, Gerard Butler returns as Stoic, Hiccup's father and the formidable chief of Berk. Butler's performance adds gravitas and complexity to Stoic, portraying him as both a stern leader and a caring father. His portrayal has been commended for bringing a commanding presence to the screen, enriching the father-son dynamic central to the narrative. Otc.us. +12. 9 meters. +12. Mirrormagazine.co.uk. +12. Supporting cast, humor and heart. The supporting cast infuses the film with humor and warmth. Nick Frost's portrayal of Gobber the Belch, the eccentric blacksmith, adds comedic relief and endearing charm. Julian Dennison as Fishlegs, Gabriel Howell as Snotlout, and the duo of Bronwyn James and Harry Trevelyan as Roughnut and Toughnut, respectively, contribute to the vibrant ensemble, each bringing their characters to life with distinctive flair. Their performances have been described as spot-on, enhancing the film's appeal and depth. The Game of Nerds. +6. Mirrormagazine.co.uk. +6. Comicbookmovie.com. +6. The Omen Media. Visual realism and emotional impact. The film's visual effects, particularly in bringing Toothless to life, have been lauded for their realism and emotional expressiveness. Reviewers have noted that the CGI work allows for a seamless integration of dragons into the live-action world, with Toothless' design capturing both the majesty and playfulness that fans cherish. The flight sequences are described as exhilarating and breathtaking, contributing to the film's immersive experience. The Omen Media. Conclusion. The live-action How to Train Your Dragon, 2025, succeeds in bringing its characters to life through compelling performances that honor the spirit of the original while offering fresh depth. The cast's portrayals, combined with stunning visual effects, create an emotionally resonant and visually captivating film that stands as a testament to the enduring power of storytelling. Director Dean DeBois, returning to helm the 2025 live-action adaptation of How to Train Your Dragon, masterfully shapes the film's tone, mood, and storytelling to bridge the gap between the animated original and a more grounded, emotionally resonant cinematic experience. A thoughtful tonal shift. Transitioning from animation to live-action necessitated a re-evaluation of the film's tone. DeBois embraced a more serious and intense atmosphere, acknowledging that the presence of real actors and tangible sets would naturally lend a heightened sense of realism. This shift amplifies the peril and stakes within the story, making the dragons appear more formidable and the human characters' challenges more visceral. Screen Rant. Visual storytelling and cinematography. Collaborating with cinematographer Bill Pope, known for his work on films like The Matrix, DeBois ensures that each shot serves the narrative's emotional core. The use of IMAX. Technology and filming in the dramatic landscapes of Northern Ireland, particularly the Faroe Islands, provides a breathtaking backdrop that enhances the story's epic scope. The flight sequences, a hallmark of the original, are reimagined with a visceral quality, immersing viewers in the exhilaration of dragon flight. Nova Stream Network. Wikipedia. +2. 9 meters. +2. Nadtropolis. +2. Narrative fidelity and expansion. DeBois strikes a balance between honoring iconic moments from the animated film and expanding the narrative to suit the live-action format. Key scenes, such as Hiccup's first encounter with Toothless, are recreated with meticulous attention to detail, preserving their emotional impact. Simultaneously, the film delves deeper into character development and the mythology of Berk, enriching the story's complexity and appeal. Stylistic choices enhancing realism. The director's commitment to realism extends to the design and portrayal of dragons. While maintaining the distinctive features that endeared them to audiences, the dragons are rendered with lifelike textures and movements, informed by real animal behaviors. This approach ensures that the fantastical elements remain grounded, enhancing believability without sacrificing charm. Gizmodo. Emotional resonance through music. Composer John Powell returns to score the film, adapting his original themes to suit the live-action's more mature tone. The music underscores the film's emotional beats, from the thrill of discovery to the poignancy of personal growth, further immersing audiences in the narrative. Conclusion. Dean DeBois' direction in the 2025 live-action How to Train Your Dragon exemplifies a thoughtful and nuanced approach to adaptation. By blending fidelity to the source material with strategic enhancements in tone, visual storytelling, and character development, he crafts a film that resonates with both longtime fans and new audiences, reaffirming the timeless appeal of Hiccup and Toothless' journey. The cinematography of the 2025 live-action adaptation of How to Train Your Dragon, helmed by acclaimed cinematographer Bill Pope, plays a pivotal role in translating the beloved animated world into a tangible, immersive experience. Pope, renowned for his work on the Matrix and Spider-Man trilogies, brings his expertise to craft a visual narrative that balances grandeur with intimacy. Expansive visuals and IMAX integration. A significant aspect of the film's visual storytelling is its utilization of IMAX technology. Director Dean DeBois and Pope employed an open matte technique, allowing the aspect ratio to dynamically shift during key sequences. For instance, during dragon flight scenes, the screen expands to a wider format, enhancing the sense of scale and immersion. DeBois likened this to the curtain raiser effect seen in films like Mission: Impossible, Ghost Protocol, where the screen's expansion correlates with the dragon's breathing, gradually enveloping the audience in the cinematic experience. The wrap. Faithful recreation with enhanced realism. While the live-action film pays homage to its animated predecessor by recreating iconic scenes with similar camera angles and compositions, it also introduces a heightened sense of realism. For example, Hiccup's initial interaction with Toothless mirrors the original's framing, yet the live-action context adds a tangible depth to the moment. This approach ensures that fans of the original experience nostalgia, while newcomers are introduced to a richly detailed world. Megaphone.southwestern.edu. Lighting and atmospheric depth. Pope's lighting choices contribute significantly to the film's mood and atmosphere. Naturalistic lighting techniques are employed to ground the fantastical elements, making the world of Berk feel authentic. The interplay of light and shadow accentuates the emotional beats of the story, from the warmth of dragon-human bonding moments to the tension-filled confrontations. Visual storytelling and emotional resonance. The cinematography doesn't merely serve aesthetic purposes but also enhances the narrative's emotional depth. Close-up shots capture the nuanced performances of the actors, conveying internal conflicts and character growth. Simultaneously, wide shots showcase the expansive landscapes and the majesty of dragon flight, emphasizing themes of freedom and exploration. Conclusion. In the 2025 live-action How to Train Your Dragon, Bill Pope's cinematography is instrumental in bridging the gap between animation and live-action. Through dynamic aspect ratios, faithful yet enhanced scene recreations, and thoughtful lighting, the film offers a visually compelling narrative that resonates with both longtime fans and new audiences. Film projector cinematographic vision, bringing fantasy to reality. The 2025 live-action remake of How to Train Your Dragon is visually sculpted under the masterful eye of Bill Pope, a cinematographer renowned for his kinetic yet poetic style. Known for The Matrix and Baby Driver, Pope brings a perfect blend of fluid camera movement and grounded realism to this adaptation, qualities that elevate the emotional stakes and immersive world-building. Movie camera angles and movement, dynamic, purposeful, emotional. 1. Point of view and intimacy. Much of the story is told through Hiccup's perspective, and Pope uses tight medium shots and close-ups to convey the internal conflict of a young boy caught between duty and empathy. During the first real moment of connection between Hiccup and Toothless, the camera holds on Hiccup's face with minimal movement, letting his vulnerability fill the frame. Meanwhile, low angles on Toothless give the dragon a sense of majestic presence, gradually softening as their bond deepens. 2. Sweeping aerials and flight sequences. Flight scenes are a triumph of visual design. Using IMAX cameras and drone-mounted rigs, Pope captures Toothless' flight with expansive, gliding wide shots that mimic the sensation of soaring. Transitions into first-person aerial POV, wings visible on either side of the screen, draw audiences into the flight itself, making them feel like they are riding Toothless with Hiccup. 3. Handheld realism versus cinematic grandeur. Intimate scenes, such as Hiccup's conflicts with Stoic, are often filmed with slightly shaky, handheld framing, creating a raw, immediate feel. In contrast, ceremonial scenes, dragon attacks, and major set pieces adopt sweeping dolly shots and symmetrical compositions, adding an epic, almost mythic tone. Electric light bulb lighting, sculpting emotion through illumination. 1. Naturalistic daylight for Berk. The Viking village of Berk is lit with soft, ambient daylight, often diffused by coastal fog and clouds. This gives the village a rugged, grounded look, perfect for a world where fantasy needs to feel tangible. Scenes of daily life and training are saturated with earthy tones, captured in warm golden hour lighting to create a nostalgic and almost painterly feel. 2. High contrast in dramatic moments. Dramatic tension, such as confrontations with dragons or key decisions by Hiccup, is heightened with chiaroscuro lighting. One side of the face may be brightly lit while the other is shrouded in shadow, visually suggesting moral conflict or inner struggle. 3. Night sequences. Night scenes, particularly those featuring Toothless stealth mode or scenes in the dragon nest, are bathed in cool blues and low-key lighting with selective highlights from torch flames or dragon fire. This not only creates tension but enhances the mystical, alien nature of these creatures. Framed picture framing and composition. Storytelling within the frame. 1. The rule of isolation versus unity. Early in the film, Hiccup is often framed alone, either at the edge of the screen or surrounded by vast empty space, emphasizing his outsider status. As his relationships develop, he is framed centrally and symmetrically, often alongside Toothless, indicating emotional balance and belonging. 2. Layered foregrounds and depth of field. Many shots utilize layered composition, placing characters in the foreground while dragons, villages, or landscapes fill the mid and background. This technique enhances depth and realism, while visually embedding characters within the larger world. Selective focus is also used to pull emotional weight towards certain expressions or actions, like a trembling hand reaching out to Toothless. 3. Iconic frames recreated with a twist. Iconic scenes from the animated film, Hiccup reaching out with his palm to Toothless, are shot with low-angle, backlit silhouettes, invoking visual poetry. These scenes are often mirrored later in the film with subtle changes in camera angle and lighting to show how much the characters have evolved. Milky Way visually striking moments that stand out. Toothless taking flight in IMAX. The screen expands, the score swells, and the camera glides alongside Toothless as he breaks through the clouds. This sequence, described by early viewers as breath-stealing, is a visual triumph of scope and emotion. The Hidden Dragon Valley. Introduced with a slow pullback reveal, the hidden world bursts with bioluminescent plants and crystalline formations. Lit with vibrant, saturated color palettes, the scene contrasts starkly with Burke's earthy tones, marking a shift in world building. The funeral pyre scene. Filmed in silhouette against a fiery sunset, this emotionally charged moment uses symmetrical, wide framing and flickering firelight to convey honor, loss, and unity without a single word of dialogue. Film conclusion. In the 2025 live-action How to Train Your Dragon, cinematography becomes more than a tool, it becomes a language. Bill Pope's visuals do not merely support the story, they elevate it, transforming iconic scenes into living paintings and ensuring new additions are just as emotionally potent. Whether through swooping aerials, expressive close-ups, or painterly compositions, the cinematography sculpts the emotional and mythic fabric of the film, creating a visual experience that resonates deeply with audiences, long after the dragons have soared off-screen. Stopwatch pacing, a deliberate build-up. The film's pacing is characterized by a deliberate build-up, especially in its first act. This section focuses on establishing the world of Burke, the societal norms regarding dragons, and Hiccup's initial struggles. While some viewers have appreciated this thorough world building, others have noted that the exposition could have been more concise to maintain engagement. Film tech. As the narrative progresses, the pacing becomes more dynamic, particularly during action sequences and emotional climaxes. The transition from the slower-paced introduction to the more intense middle and final acts creates a rhythm that mirrors Hiccup's personal growth and the escalating stakes of the story. Black Scissors editing, seamless transitions and emotional resonance. Wyatt Smith's editing plays a crucial role in maintaining the film's flow and emotional impact. The transitions between scenes are crafted to ensure continuity and to guide the audience smoothly through the narrative. For instance, the shift from Hiccup's solitary moments to his interactions with Toothless is handled with subtlety, emphasizing the development of their bond. The editing also enhances the film's emotional resonance. Key moments, such as Hiccup's internal conflicts and the climactic battles, are edited to highlight character reactions and to build tension effectively. This approach ensures that the audience remains emotionally invested throughout the film. Clapperboard rhythm and narrative impact. The film's rhythm is carefully calibrated to balance action, character development, and world building. The initial slower pace allows for a deeper exploration of characters and setting, while the acceleration in later acts aligns with the narrative's rising tension. This structure supports the story's emotional arcs and enhances the overall impact. However, some critics have suggested that certain sequences, particularly battle scenes, could have been more tightly edited to maintain momentum. Despite this, the film's rhythm successfully conveys the themes of growth, understanding, and unity that are central to the story. Film conclusion. In summary, the editing and pacing of the 2025 live-action How to Train Your Dragon contribute significantly to its storytelling. While the film takes a more measured approach in its early stages, this allows for a richer exploration of its world and characters. The subsequent increase in pace aligns with the narrative's progression, culminating in a satisfying and emotionally resonant conclusion. Black Scissors editing and pacing in How to Train Your Dragon, 2025. Edited by Wyatt Smith, Dr. Strange, Into the Woods, the live-action adaptation of How to Train Your Dragon balances expansive fantasy spectacle with grounded emotional storytelling. The editing style works in close concert with Dean DeBlois' directorial vision, resulting in a film that carefully manages its tempo, character arcs, and action sequences for maximum narrative impact. Film 1. Structure and rhythm, a three-act precision. The film adheres closely to a traditional three-act structure, but the timing of each act is distinct and deliberate. Act I is slower and more introspective. Smith employs longer takes and minimal cross-cutting, allowing viewers to absorb the world of Burke and Hiccup's alienation from his people. This rhythm may feel restrained, but it establishes crucial character dynamics and tone. Act 2 shifts pace significantly as Hiccup secretly trains Toothless. The editing becomes more kinetic, using parallel cutting between dragon training sequences and escalating tensions in the village. This contrast builds anticipation without relying on exposition. Act 3 reaches a heightened rhythm, especially during the climax involving the Red Death Dragon. Here, Smith blends fast-paced montage, suspense-building cuts, and hero-focused slow motion, all while maintaining spatial clarity, a key feat in visually busy battle scenes. Counterclockwise arrows 2. Seamless transitions, cohesion through editing. Smith's editing transitions smoothly between different tonal shifts. From comedy to tenderness, as in scenes where Hiccup clumsily navigates bonding with Toothless. From tension to wonder, such as the reveal of the dragon's hidden world. This is achieved through visual match cuts, e.g., Hiccup's hand gesture cutting to Toothless' mirroring response, and sound bridges, carrying ambient dragon calls from one scene into the next. Key transition types include motif cuts. Recurring gestures, like Hiccup's palm-out gesture or Stoic's hammer slam, are used as visual cues to bridge scenes across time. Rhythmic crossfades, especially used during training montages, where a rising score is paired with dissolving images, linking progress and passage of time. Clock #3. Pacing choices, emotional cadence over pure speed. Rather than rushing towards spectacle, the editing emphasizes emotional pacing. Smith often lingers on character reactions, especially facial expressions, before cutting to dialogue or action. This allows emotions to register, making even quiet moments resonate powerfully. For example, when Hiccup first frees Toothless, the scene holds on his inner conflict in long, silent pauses, trusting the audience to interpret unspoken shifts. It's a risky editorial choice in a genre that often prioritizes momentum, but it pays off in emotional clarity. That said, some critics have pointed out, Act I may feel too slow for younger audiences or action-first viewers. A few sequences in Act 3's dragon battle could have been tightened slightly, where the film briefly indulges in overextended tension beats before the final strike. Explosion symbol 4. Action editing, clarity over chaos. Action scenes are coherently constructed, with a priority on geographical awareness, ensuring viewers understand where characters are within a scene. Perspective-driven pacing. Action is often cut based on Hiccup's line of sight or decision-making, reinforcing that he remains the emotional core even amid chaos. For instance, in the final battle, Toothless' attack runs are intercut with Hiccup scanning for weak points, emphasizing their teamwork. Each shot lasts long enough to track movement without becoming disorienting, avoiding the over-edited quick-cut style that plagues some modern blockbusters. 5. Musical and emotional sync, score-driven editing. The editing often moves in lockstep with John Powell's score, which serves as a narrative guidepost. Emotional crescendos are timed with visual climaxes, such as a wide shot of Toothless lifting off, or Hiccup's realization of his father's acceptance, using the score's swells to enhance emotional beats. In quieter scenes, ambient sounds like wind or fire subtly lead transitions, crafting a symphonic rhythm to the entire edit. Bar chart summary of editing strengths and challenges. Element strength minor criticism. Pacing builds emotional resonance, evolves with story progression. Opening act may feel too slow for some audiences. Transitions seamless, motif-driven, and sound-bridged. Rare instances of abruptness during rapid tonal shifts. Action editing clear, grounded, character-focused. Could trim 1 to 2 beats in the climactic dragon battle. Emotional timing strong use of reaction shots and pauses to underscore emotion. Some viewers may desire quicker movement in emotional lows. Narrative rhythm carefully crafted. Rising tempo matches stakes. Intentionally slow start could be misinterpreted as sluggish. Clapperboard conclusion, a balanced editorial vision. From a third-person lens, it's clear that How to Train Your Dragon, 2025, benefits from a thoughtful and character-first editing style. Wyatt Smith's work helps the film breathe, allowing scenes to land emotionally without losing narrative drive. Though the early pacing may divide some viewers, the rhythmic acceleration and seamless emotional transitions ultimately create a satisfying and cohesive storytelling journey. In short, the editing isn't just about what gets cut, it's about what gets time to land. And in this case, the results are heartfelt, cinematic, and resonant. Musical score reimagined themes and motifs. Powell's score continues to utilize the central themes from the original film, such as the friendship theme and the flight theme, but with nuanced adjustments to fit the live-action context. The friendship theme, associated with Hiccup and Toothless bond, is presented with a more intimate orchestration, reflecting the film's realistic portrayal of their relationship. Similarly, the flight theme is adapted to match the grandeur and realism of the live-action flight sequences, enhancing the sense of wonder without overwhelming the visuals. Violin instrumentation and orchestration. The live-action score features a full orchestral arrangement, with Powell incorporating traditional instruments to evoke the film's Viking setting. The use of Celtic instruments, such as bagpipes and penny whistles, is more restrained compared to the animated version, aligning with the film's realistic aesthetic. This careful orchestration ensures that the music supports the narrative without drawing attention away from the on-screen action. Speaker-off use of silence and subtlety. Powell strategically employs moments of silence or minimal instrumentation to heighten emotional impact. For instance, during pivotal scenes where Hiccup and Toothless share quiet, introspective moments, the absence of music allows the audience to focus on the characters' expressions and interactions. This restraint underscores the film's emphasis on realism and emotional authenticity. Clapperboard integration with visuals and narrative. The score is meticulously timed to complement the film's pacing and editing. During action sequences, the music builds tension and excitement without overshadowing the visuals. Conversely, in more subdued scenes, the score provides a subtle emotional undercurrent that enhances the storytelling. This seamless integration ensures that the music serves the narrative effectively, contributing to the film's overall impact. Memo conclusion. John Powell's reimagined score for the 2025 live-action How to Train Your Dragon successfully bridges the gap between the original animated film and its realistic adaptation. By thoughtfully adjusting themes, instrumentation, and orchestration, Powell enhances the film's atmosphere and emotional resonance, demonstrating the enduring power of music in storytelling. Musical score How to Train Your Dragon, 2025. Soundtrack and score. Composed once again by John Powell, the 2025 live-action adaptation's score represents a sophisticated evolution of his beloved original soundtrack from the 2010 animated film. Powell masterfully balances honoring the original themes with reimagining them to fit the film's more mature, realistic tone, creating an aural landscape that is both familiar and freshly resonant. Multiple musical notes. 1. Thematic continuity and recurring motifs. The score's backbone remains rooted in the original film's iconic motifs, which serve as emotional signposts throughout the story. The friendship theme. This leitmotif, originally soaring and whimsical in the animated version, is reinterpreted with more nuanced orchestration and subtle harmonic shifts. It often appears during intimate moments between Hiccup and Toothless, played on softer woodwinds or muted strings. This treatment reflects the live-action film's emphasis on emotional realism and the gradual building of trust. The flight theme. Celebratory and adventurous, this motif is given a grander and more expansive orchestration, befitting the live-action's sweeping cinematography. Brass and full strings swell during flight sequences, capturing the exhilaration of soaring through the skies while grounding it in a more tangible sense of space and weight. Battle and conflict motifs. Powell integrates darker, more percussive themes during conflict scenes, using rhythmic ostinatos and minor tonalities to heighten tension. These motifs contrast against the gentler themes, underscoring the stakes without becoming melodramatic. Violin 2. Instrumentation and orchestration, a thoughtful blend. Powell's orchestration in the 2025 film is more restrained and texturally varied, designed to complement the live-action's realistic aesthetic. Traditional Viking and Celtic instruments. Instruments like the bodhran, Irish drum, penny whistle, and low whistle are used sparingly, woven into the orchestral fabric rather than featured prominently as in the animated score. This choice grounds the music in historical flavor without distracting from the emotional narrative. Orchestral palette. The score relies heavily on a full symphonic orchestra. Strings provide lush emotional warmth, brass delivers heroic flourishes, and woodwinds add lyrical nuance. The percussion section is used to underscore the film's Nordic martial culture, but with subtlety to avoid overpowering dialogue or action. Choir and vocal elements. Vocal textures appear rarely but effectively, often as ethereal wordless chants or low murmurs, enhancing scenes of mysticism or awe, such as the discovery of the dragon's hidden world. Speak-off 3. Masterful use of silence and restraint. One of the score's defining features is its strategic use of silence or near silence, especially during critical emotional beats. In scenes where Hiccup and Toothless form their bond, the music sometimes pulls back almost entirely, letting natural ambient sounds, breath, wind, the subtle clicking of Toothless' claws, take precedence. This restraint makes the score feel organic, emphasizing authenticity over constant musical presence. Moments of silence are often punctuated by single notes or sparse instrumentation, heightening tension or drawing attention to subtle emotional shifts without manipulation. Headphone 4. Seamless integration with film narrative and visuals. The score is tightly interwoven with the film's editing and cinematography. Dynamic swells and lulls. Music rises and falls in harmony with on-screen action. For example, during flight sequences, the score crescendos alongside camera movements, evoking a visceral sense of freedom and exhilaration. During quieter, introspective moments, the music gently recedes, making space for actors' performances and ambient sounds. Editing sync. Musical cues align precisely with narrative beats, entrances, emotional revelations, and shifts in tone are underscored by changes in instrumentation or tempo. This precision enhances emotional clarity and pacing. Avoiding overpowering moments. Despite its grandeur, the score is careful never to dominate the narrative. Dialogue and diegetic sound remain clear and central, with the music acting as an emotional undercurrent rather than a forceful driver. Glowing Star 5. Standout compositions and moments. Opening Viking village theme. Sets an earthy, grounded tone through restrained strings and percussion, establishing the rugged life of Berk. First flight scene. This sequence features one of the film's most exhilarating musical moments, an orchestral surge that perfectly mirrors Toothless' graceful flight, combining Powell's signature soaring melodies with sweeping orchestral colors. Quiet bonding moments. Minimalist piano and string arrangements highlight the tentative trust forming between Hiccup and Toothless, allowing viewers to lean into the emotional subtlety. Climactic battle themes. Here, layered rhythmic motifs and intense brass build urgency and drama without overshadowing the characters' personal stakes. Musical score summary, a score that breathes and resonates. John Powell's soundtrack for How to Train Your Dragon, 2025, is a masterclass in adaptive scoring. It maintains the emotional warmth and memorable motifs of the original, while evolving them into a mature, texturally rich soundscape that serves the film's realistic tone. By balancing lush orchestration with thoughtful restraint, and by blending traditional instruments with a full symphony, Powell enhances the film's atmosphere, from intimate friendship to epic adventure, without overwhelming the storytelling. The expert use of silence and subtlety ensures the score amplifies rather than competes with the narrative, making it an integral part of the viewer's emotional journey. If you'd like, I can also provide examples of specific tracks or moments from the score that stand out dramatically. Glowing Star How to Train Your Dragon, 2025. Themes and Messages. The 2025 live-action adaptation of How to Train Your Dragon dives deeply into a rich tapestry of themes that resonate beyond its fantasy adventure surface. The film tackles universal ideas about identity, coexistence, courage, and transformation, all grounded in the Viking world's rugged realism. Dragon 1. Understanding and coexistence between different worlds. At its core, the film is a powerful meditation on bridging divides between vastly different beings, represented most poignantly in the evolving bond between Hiccup and Toothless. The story challenges the long-standing human fear and misunderstanding of dragons, encouraging audiences to reconsider assumptions about the other. The theme of empathy is communicated with sincerity and nuance, avoiding simplistic good vs evil binaries. Instead, it explores how curiosity and compassion can replace fear and violence. This message is woven organically into the narrative through character development and interaction rather than overt exposition, making it feel earned rather than forced. Shield #2. Coming of Age and Self-Discovery. Hiccup's journey is a classic coming-of-age tale, but with layers of complexity added by the demands of leadership, legacy, and self-acceptance. The film examines what it means to be different in a community that values strength and tradition. Hiccup's initial outsider status, both as a physically weaker boy and as someone with unconventional ideas, creates a tension that drives much of the emotional core. His transformation into a confident, compassionate leader unfolds gradually, emphasizing internal growth and the acceptance of vulnerability as a form of strength. The film's messaging about identity encourages viewers, especially younger audiences, to embrace individuality and courage in the face of societal expectations. Crossed Swords #3. Conflict, violence, and redemption. While the film contains intense action and battle scenes, it consciously frames violence as a tragic consequence of misunderstanding rather than a heroic ideal. The narrative challenges the glorification of war by showing its cost, including loss and fractured relationships. Redemption arcs, particularly through Stoic and other Viking elders, highlight the possibility of change and forgiveness, suggesting that reconciliation is both difficult and essential. Globe Showing Europe-Africa 4. Harmony with Nature. The dragons themselves symbolize a connection to the natural world, and the film explores themes of environmental stewardship and respect for life. Berk's evolving relationship with dragons mirrors humanity's broader need to live in harmony with nature, rather than dominate it. Visual and narrative cues, from sweeping vistas to quiet moments of coexistence, reinforce this ecological message subtly yet powerfully. 5. Themes effectively communicated or forced. The film largely succeeds in communicating these themes with sincerity and subtlety. The screenplay and performances avoid didacticism, Themes emerge naturally from character motivations and plot developments. Emotional stakes feel genuine, thanks in part to thoughtful pacing and nuanced dialogue, allowing audiences to reflect without feeling preached to. However, some critics note that in a few sequences, especially during the climax, thematic statements about unity and peace verge on being slightly on the nose, momentarily reducing complexity for broad accessibility. Thought Balloon 6. Thought-provoking ideas and lasting impression. Several ideas linger beyond the film's runtime, inviting contemplation. The film's nuanced portrayal of fear, courage, and change encourages viewers to question inherited prejudices and the rigidity of tradition. The portrayal of friendship transcending boundaries serves as a hopeful metaphor for real-world intercultural understanding. Its environmental undertones add a subtle call to mindfulness about humanity's impact on the world. Bullseye summary. From a third-person perspective, How to Train Your Dragon, 2025, thoughtfully explores themes of empathy, identity, conflict, and harmony. It communicates these messages through rich character arcs and carefully crafted storytelling, generally avoiding the pitfalls of forced messaging. While some moments lean toward overt thematic statements, the film's emotional honesty and narrative depth ensure its ideas resonate meaningfully, leaving audiences with lasting reflections on courage, acceptance, and coexistence. If you want, I can also break down how these themes are embodied in specific scenes or character arcs. Artist Palette: How to Train Your Dragon, 2025, Visual Effects and CGI. The 2025 live-action adaptation of How to Train Your Dragon represents a significant technical achievement in seamlessly blending cutting-edge CGI with practical effects to create a believable Viking world inhabited by dragons. The film's visual effects team faced the complex challenge of translating fantastical creatures into a realistic environment while maintaining emotional engagement and visual coherence. Dragon 1. Natural integration of CGI dragons. One of the film's standout successes is how CGI dragons blend organically into the physical world. The dragons are rendered with extraordinary attention to detail, from the texture of their scales and the subtle movements of their muscles to the nuanced expressions that convey emotion. Their interaction with real environments, actors, and practical effects is carefully choreographed and lit, avoiding the artificial floating or disconnected look that can plague CGI creatures. Motion capture technology, combined with animation, captures realistic and believable movements that reflect each dragon's unique personality, from toothless, playful agility to the imposing presence of larger dragons. The result is creatures that feel alive and present, enhancing audience immersion rather than distracting from it. Crossed Swords #2. Enhancement of immersion. Visual effects are used not merely for spectacle but to serve storytelling and emotional depth. Key flight sequences are enhanced through sweeping digital landscapes and dynamic camera moves that would be impossible in a practical setting, yet they maintain a grounded sense of scale and physicality. Fire and smoke effects during battles are rendered with remarkable realism, complementing the tension and danger without overwhelming the scene or appearing cartoonish. Environmental effects, such as weather, dust, and water interaction, are digitally integrated to react convincingly with both live-action and CGI elements, further enriching the film's tactile feel. Wrench 3. Balance between practical and digital effects. The film employs a thoughtful blend of practical and digital effects, with practical effects laying the foundation for realism. Sets and physical props, such as detailed Viking village structures, weapons, and costumes, provide tangible textures and authenticity. These elements ground the film's world, giving actors physical references that improve performances. Practical effects are also used in interaction points, for example, smoke, wind, and physical reactions, ensuring that CGI elements like dragons appear to genuinely affect their surroundings. Digital effects build on this foundation, extending environments and creatures beyond what is physically possible, but always with a careful eye to maintaining consistency in lighting, scale, and physics. This synergy between practical and CGI effects avoids the all-digital aesthetic, giving the film a tactile, lived-in quality that draws viewers deeper into its world. Left-pointing magnifying glass 4. Visual effects execution and detail. The level of detail in the VFX is notable. Textures on dragons include imperfections, scratches, dirt, and subtle skin variations that enhance their believability as living creatures. Lighting and shadow interplay between CGI creatures and live sets are meticulously matched, ensuring dragons cast realistic shadows and reflect environmental lighting. The film uses advanced rendering techniques to depict translucency in wings, moisture on scales, and heat distortion from fire breath, adding layers of realism. Movie Camera 5. Potential areas of critique. While most CGI effects blend naturally, a few moments during rapid action scenes occasionally reveal subtle discrepancies in motion blur or lighting mismatch, momentarily breaking immersion for the most discerning viewers. Some critics argue that the heavier reliance on CGI in grand battle sequences contrasts with the tactile charm of practical effects, occasionally creating a slight tonal shift. Memo summary. From a third-person perspective, How to Train Your Dragon, 2025, excels in using visual effects and CGI to enhance immersion without overshadowing the story or performances. The dragons are brought to life with remarkable detail and emotional expressiveness, integrated seamlessly with physical sets and practical effects. This careful balance ensures that the fantastical elements feel grounded and real, enriching the film's world-building and emotional resonance. While minor technical imperfections exist, they do not significantly detract from the overall visual achievement. The film stands as a testament to modern VFX craftsmanship, where digital artistry and practical filmmaking combine to create a vivid, believable fantasy experience. If you want, I can also provide examples of specific scenes or effects sequences that particularly highlight this balance. Artist Palette How to Train Your Dragon, 2025, Visual Effects and CGI, Expanded Analysis. The 2025 live-action adaptation undertakes the formidable challenge of translating a beloved animated world into a richly textured, believable reality. The film's visual effects, VFX, and computer-generated imagery, CGI, are central to this endeavor, tasked with creating lifelike dragons and a Viking-era environment that feels tangible and immersive. The filmmakers strike a sophisticated balance between cutting-edge digital techniques and practical effects to serve the story's emotional core. Dragon 1. CGI dragons, anatomy, movement, and emotional realism. The dragons in this film are among the most complex digital creatures created in recent cinema. Anatomical realism. The VFX artists invested heavily in realistic anatomical modeling. Muscle groups, bone structure, and skin texture are painstakingly detailed. Skin exhibits fine-scale texturing such as tiny scales, scars, and natural wear, which change subtly with movement and lighting. The translucency of dragon wings, showing veins in the thin membrane, is rendered with advanced subsurface scattering techniques, adding depth and believability. Facial animation and emotional nuance. A standout achievement is the dragon's facial expressions, which are nuanced enough to convey a wide emotional range: curiosity, fear, joy, and pain, essential for audience empathy. Facial rigs allow animators to subtly move muscles around eyes, brows, and mouths, giving dragons a performance quality that parallels human actors. Motion capture and animation synergy. The creature's movements combine keyframe animation with motion capture data from stunt performers and animal references. This hybrid approach achieves fluidity and naturalistic weight, avoiding stiff or overly exaggerated motions common in fully digital creatures. Crossed Swords #2. Environmental integration and physical interaction. Lighting consistency. CGI dragons are lit using on-set HDRI, high dynamic range imaging, captured to match environmental lighting perfectly. This technique captures real-world light data from the shooting location, ensuring digital elements respond naturally to sunlight, shadows, and ambient light. Interaction with physical effects. When dragons breathe fire, for example, the CGI flames are composite alongside practical effects like smoke and sparks, which are generated on set. This creates a layered effect where digital and practical elements complement rather than compete. Dust and debris react convincingly as dragons move, simulated with physics-based particle systems. Environmental extension. While many Viking village scenes rely on practical sets, wide establishing shots and vast landscapes are digitally extended to portray Berk's remote, rugged geography. The digital environment is richly textured, featuring mountains, forests, and seas that blend seamlessly into the physical sets. Wrench 3. Practical effects, the tangible foundation. The film's use of practical effects grounds the fantasy. Set design and props. Viking village sets include intricate woodwork, weathered textures, and functional mechanical props, e.g., catapults, dragon riding apparatuses, that provide actors with tangible reference points, enhancing performance authenticity. Costuming and makeup. Costumes feature authentic materials, leather, fur, metalwork, that catch and reflect light naturally, contrasting effectively with CGI elements. Practical makeup effects for injuries and environmental wear add realism to the human character's harsh lifestyle. Physical effects on set. Practical wind machines, pyrotechnics, and water rigs generate natural reactions to the CGI dragon's presence. For example, the fluttering of loose clothing and the scattering of leaves respond realistically during dragon flight scenes. Left-pointing magnifying glass 4. Technical achievements and innovations. High-resolution rendering. The film employs state-of-the-art rendering software capable of producing ultra-high-resolution textures and complex light simulations, ensuring details remain sharp in close-ups and on IMAX screens. Advanced simulation techniques. Digital fluid dynamics simulate fire, breath, and smoke with unprecedented realism, allowing for volumetric lighting effects that interact dynamically with surrounding environments. Real-time previews and on-set visualization. Directors and VFX supervisors used advanced Pravis and on-set visualization tools, allowing immediate feedback on how CGI dragons would look in final shots, enabling better integration with live action during filming. Movie Camera 5. Narrative impact of visual effects. The visual effects are not merely spectacle but essential to the film's emotional storytelling. Dragons are characters with agency and personality. Their digital realism invites genuine audience empathy. The tension in battle scenes is heightened by dynamic digital effects, flames, explosions, dust clouds, that create immersive chaos without overwhelming clarity or emotional focus. Quiet scenes, such as Toothless and Hiccup's early encounters, rely on subtle digital effects, like gentle breath vapor or eye reflections, to build intimacy and realism. Left-pointing magnifying glass 6. Areas of challenge and minor flaws. Despite the high quality, a few rapid action sequences reveal slight motion blur mismatches between CGI and live action, momentarily reminding viewers of the digital nature of dragons. Some wide shots occasionally display minor inconsistencies in scale perception between dragons and their environment, a common challenge in CGI-heavy films striving for epic scope. The heavier reliance on CGI for crowd and large-scale battle effects can sometimes feel less tactile compared to close-up practical effects, but these moments are few and don't significantly undermine immersion. Memo comprehensive summary. From a third-person perspective, the 2025 How to Train Your Dragon film's visual effects and CGI demonstrate exemplary craftsmanship. The dragons are realized with breathtaking anatomical and emotional detail. Their seamless integration with practical effects ensures a grounded, immersive world. The film's success lies in the careful balance between digital spectacle and tangible, physical filmmaking techniques. This fusion produces a visual narrative that supports rather than overshadows character development and thematic depth. Minor technical imperfections are inevitable in such an ambitious production but do little to diminish the overall achievement. The VFX team's innovations push the boundaries of digital creature creation, setting a new benchmark for fantasy cinema. If you want, I can go even further into technical specifics about particular sequences or explore how the VFX work influenced actor performances. How to Train Your Dragon 2025, Set Design and Locations, an in-depth analysis. The 2025 installment of How to Train Your Dragon elevates its visual storytelling through masterful set design and meticulously chosen locations, creating a world that is both immersive and authentic. From a third-person perspective, the film's production design breathes new life into the beloved Viking universe, skillfully balancing fantasy elements with grounded realism to deepen audience engagement. Creating a believable world through set design. The set design in How to Train Your Dragon 2025 stands out for its detailed craftsmanship and cultural authenticity. The Viking village, Berk, is expanded and reimagined with intricate wooden structures, weathered stone, and natural materials that reflect the harsh Nordic environment. Every building, from the longhouses to the docks, is textured with signs of wear and history, lending a lived-in feel that makes the village convincing rather than cartoonish. The interiors complement this authenticity. Hand-woven tapestries, dragon-inspired motifs, and functional yet rustic furniture contribute to a tactile sense of place. The production design team's attention to detail in props, such as handcrafted weapons, tools, and everyday Viking artifacts, adds layers of storytelling, suggesting the inhabitants' daily lives and their evolving relationship with dragons. Moreover, the film introduces new locations such as hidden dragon sanctuaries, expansive mountain ranges, and mysterious ancient ruins. These sets blend natural elements with fantastical design, using organic shapes and rugged textures that feel plausible within the film's mythology. The use of lighting and weather effects within these environments enhances the mood, from serene dawns that suggest hope to stormy skies that signal conflict. Locations adding depth and visual appeal. The choice of locations, both real and digitally created, greatly enriches the narrative. The filmmakers seamlessly integrate CGI with on-location shoots inspired by the dramatic landscapes of Iceland and Norway. This fusion grounds the fantasy elements in believable geography, giving viewers a sense of scale and grandeur. The rugged cliffs and fjords are not just visually stunning but symbolically potent, mirroring the characters' internal journeys, steep challenges, isolation, and the awe-inspiring freedom dragons represent. The interplay of natural beauty and raw wilderness creates a visual metaphor for the delicate balance between humans and dragons, a central theme of the story. Water bodies, such as the cold sea surrounding Berk and tranquil lakes near hidden dragon habitats, serve as reflective surfaces that enhance cinematography and mood. These locations invite viewers into a world where every corner holds mystery and discovery. Visual compellingness and cohesion. The production design's palette, dominated by earthy browns, icy blues, and vibrant greens, works cohesively with the animation style to maintain visual consistency across scenes. The props and settings avoid overstimulation, instead opting for subtle detail that invites closer observation. For example, the scales on dragon wings mirror the textures of surrounding rocks or wood grain, visually linking the creatures to their environment. The dynamic scale of locations, from intimate village gatherings to panoramic dragon flight sequences over vast landscapes, ensures a varied yet coherent visual experience. This contrast amplifies emotional beats, making moments of quiet reflection and thrilling action equally impactful. Conclusion. In summary, How to Train Your Dragon 2025 excels in set design and location use by crafting a world that feels tangible, layered, and enchanting. The thoughtful integration of authentic Viking aesthetics with imaginative fantasy elements creates a believable setting that supports the narrative's emotional depth. The locations are not just backdrops but active participants in storytelling, visually compelling and rich in symbolism. This production design achievement significantly enhances the film's ability to immerse audiences in a captivating dragon-filled saga. How to Train Your Dragon 2025, Set Design and Locations, a deep dive. From the outset, How to Train Your Dragon 2025 captivates audiences by delivering a richly textured and intricately laid world. The film's success in world-building lies heavily on its set design and the choice of locations, which work symbiotically to blur the line between myth and reality. 1. Set design, crafting a tangible Viking world. The heart of the film's world is the Viking village of Berk, which is redesigned with an astonishing level of care and cultural specificity. The production design team clearly conducted extensive research into Norse history and Viking architecture, resulting in a village that feels historically plausible yet seamlessly adapted to the fantastical elements of the story. Architecture and materials. The buildings are constructed predominantly from rough-hewn timber, stone, and animal hides, materials indigenous to the Nordic environment. Roofs are steep and thatched, often weighed down with stone, conveying the village's battle against harsh winds and snowy winters. The wood surfaces are textured with visible tool marks and signs of aging, cracked beams, moss growth, and chipped paint, which communicate the passage of time and the community's resilience. Interior design. Interiors showcase a lived-in warmth, with utilitarian Viking furnishings that are both functional and imbued with symbolic significance. Shields and weapons adorn the walls, but not in a purely decorative fashion. They tell stories of past battles and the village's culture. Hearth fires dominate communal spaces, their flickering light casting moving shadows that add depth to scenes and emphasize the importance of the hearth as a gathering point. Props as storytellers. Small details, like hand-carved wooden toys, woven baskets filled with dried herbs, and dragon-related artifacts, scales, bones, helmets shaped like dragon heads, enrich the narrative without words. These props serve as cultural markers and subtly reinforce the relationship between humans and dragons, showcasing reverence and coexistence. 2. Expanding the mythos, new and diverse locations. Unlike previous installments that primarily focused on Berk and its immediate surroundings, this sequel broadens the geographic scope, introducing varied environments that deepen the film's mythology. Dragon sanctuaries. These hidden enclaves are conceived with an organic design philosophy. Rock formations blend naturally with vegetation, creating dragon lairs that seem carved by nature itself rather than human hands. The sets cleverly employ biomimicry, architecture that echoes dragon anatomy, such as cavern ceilings shaped like wings or scales embedded in stone walls, making these spaces feel like true dragon habitats rather than mere backdrops. Mountain ranges and ancient ruins. The mountains are depicted with jagged peaks, mist-filled valleys, and ancient stone monoliths that hint at a forgotten civilization. These locations are not just visually stunning but narrative devices. They suggest a history beyond the present story, inviting audiences to ponder the world's deeper mysteries and ancient lore. The ruins include dragon carvings and Viking inscriptions, meticulously designed to look weathered and partially reclaimed by nature, further grounding the fantasy in realism. 3. Integration of real and CGI locations. The film's visuals are a stunning marriage of real-world inspiration and cutting-edge animation technology. Inspiration from Nordic landscapes. The filmmakers drew heavily from the dramatic fjords, volcanic terrains, and dense forests of Iceland and Norway. These real-world environments lend the digital animation a tactile authenticity. The way light filters through pine needles or reflects off icy waters is painstakingly recreated to heighten immersion. Seamless CGI blending. CGI is employed not only to animate dragons but to extend landscapes beyond what is physically possible on location. Mountains roll into horizon lines, and vast skies shift dynamically with weather and time of day, creating a living, breathing world. The digital environments have varied textures, from rough stone to soft moss and shimmering water, that respond realistically to environmental effects like rain or snow. 4. Symbolic and emotional resonance of locations. Every location in the film serves a dual purpose: functional setting and emotional symbol. Berk as a character. The village is more than a home, it's a character in its own right. Its ruggedness embodies the village's toughness and community spirit. As the story progresses, changes in Berk's appearance, new dragon-friendly architecture, expanded docks for dragon riding, mirror the evolution of human-dragon relations, visually reinforcing the narrative arc. Wilderness and isolation. The vast wilderness beyond Berk reflects the unknown, danger and opportunity. When characters journey into these wilds, the environment's scale dwarfs them, reinforcing themes of bravery, discovery, and the fragile coexistence between humans and nature. Weather and mood. The production design and location choices work closely with cinematography to use weather as a mood setter. Storms bring chaos and threat, calm mornings symbolize hope and new beginnings, and twilight scenes imbue a sense of magic and mystery. 5. Visual composition and color palette. The color choices throughout the sets and locations are carefully calibrated to support the story's emotional beats. Earthy tones. Browns, grays, and muted greens dominate village scenes, grounding the story in a naturalistic setting that feels tactile and lived in. Accent colors. Rich reds, deep blues, and fiery oranges punctuate moments of drama and warmth, often linked to dragons, glowing eyes, fire breath, and cultural symbols, Viking war paint, banners. Contrast between environments. The warmth of Berk contrasts with the coldness of the surrounding wilderness, enhancing the narrative tension between safety and danger, civilization and wildness. Conclusion. In How to Train Your Dragon 2025, the set design and location work in harmony to create an immersive, believable world that feels simultaneously fantastical and grounded. The painstaking attention to architectural authenticity, the thoughtful use of natural landscapes, and the layered symbolism embedded in every rock, hut, and dragon lair transform the film's environment into a dynamic narrative force. By making every element, down to the smallest prop or weather pattern, serve both story and atmosphere, the filmmakers deliver a visually compelling experience that invites audiences to believe in the possibility of dragons living alongside humans, in a world rich with history, emotion, and wonder. If you'd like, I can also provide insights on how these sets influence character development or specific scene dynamics. Would you want that? How to Train Your Dragon 2025, Dialogue and Script, a comprehensive analysis. How to Train Your Dragon 2025 excels not only in stunning visuals but also in its rich, thoughtfully crafted dialogue and script. From a third-person perspective, the film's writing balances humor, heart, and wisdom, delivering a screenplay that feels both authentic to its characters and resonant with audiences across ages. 1. Engagement and naturalism in dialogue. The dialogue in the film feels remarkably organic and believable, reflecting the distinct personalities of each character without ever sounding forced or overly expository. Character-specific voices. Each character speaks in a manner consistent with their background and growth. For example, Hiccup's speech is measured and thoughtful, reflecting his role as a wise leader who has matured but still retains humility. Toothless, though nonverbal, is given expressive cues through gestures and sounds, with other characters responding to him in ways that feel natural. Side characters, such as Astrid and other village members, have dialogue that is casual yet layered with their own quirks and emotions. This variety prevents the script from feeling monotonous and reinforces a sense of community and individuality. Avoidance of exposition dumps. The script cleverly avoids heavy-handed exposition, instead weaving backstory and world-building details seamlessly into conversations and character interactions. This technique keeps the audience engaged, allowing the story to unfold through actions and subtext as much as through words. 2. Sharp wit and humor. The script is sprinkled with moments of sharp wit and humor that feel earned rather than gratuitous. Playful banter. The interactions between Hiccup and his friends often include light teasing and quick retorts that reveal deep bonds. This playful dialogue humanizes the characters, making them relatable and charming. Situational comedy. Humorous moments often arise naturally from the characters' predicaments or cultural misunderstandings, especially in scenes involving the dragons, whose behaviors are sometimes unpredictable and mischievous. The script capitalizes on physical comedy supported by witty remarks, creating laughter that feels grounded. Subtle wordplay. Occasionally, the dialogue employs clever wordplay or layered meanings, particularly in exchanges involving older characters or moments of reflection. These bits add a layer of sophistication, appealing to older viewers without alienating younger audiences. 3. Emotional weight and depth. Beyond humor, the script carries substantial emotional gravitas, with scenes that explore themes of loss, identity, courage, and reconciliation. Authentic emotional beats. Key moments, such as Hiccup's internal struggles with leadership and his relationship with Toothless, are scripted with nuance and sensitivity. The characters express vulnerability through dialogue that is restrained but powerful, allowing emotions to resonate without melodrama. Parent-child dynamics. The script explores generational tensions and expectations with honesty, using dialogue to highlight Hiccup's evolving role as both son and leader. Conversations with Stoik and other elder Vikings reveal conflicting emotions, regrets, and hopes, grounding the story's emotional core. Moments of silence and subtext. The screenplay smartly incorporates pauses and silences where words are insufficient. These moments, paired with expressive visuals, often convey more than dialogue could, showing a mature understanding of storytelling rhythm. 4. Impactful writing and thematic consistency. The writing is tightly woven around the film's central themes of coexistence, understanding, and growth. Motifs in dialogue. Recurrent phrases and motifs appear throughout the script, reinforcing ideas such as freedom, trust, and home. These phrases are used sparingly but deliberately, gaining weight each time they are spoken, helping to unify the narrative and deepen thematic resonance. Philosophical undertones. The script occasionally touches on broader philosophical questions, such as what it means to be a leader or to embrace change. These moments elevate the film beyond simple adventure, inviting viewers to reflect on the lessons embedded in the story. 5. Standout lines and memorable quotes. Several lines in the film achieve iconic status, defining key moments and encapsulating the spirit of the story. Defining quotes. Lines such as "A true dragon rider trusts their heart more than their sword," and "We are stronger together than apart" serve as emotional anchors. These quotes resonate both within the context of the film and as inspirational takeaways for the audience. Humorous catchphrases. Side characters contribute memorable catchphrases that provide comic relief and have potential to become fan favorites, further embedding the film in popular culture. Emotional climaxes. At pivotal emotional junctures, dialogue crystallizes the character's growth, often with simple, heartfelt declarations that feel earned. For example, Hiccup's declarations of friendship and acceptance carry profound impact due to the groundwork laid by the script. Conclusion. The dialogue and script of How to Train Your Dragon 2025 are masterfully crafted to deliver a compelling, emotionally rich, and genuinely engaging narrative. Through naturalistic speech patterns, sharp wit, and meaningful thematic dialogue, the screenplay elevates the film beyond a typical animated adventure. The writing respects its characters' complexity, balances humor with heartfelt moments, and offers memorable lines that linger with the audience long after the credits roll. This nuanced approach to dialogue and scriptwriting is a cornerstone of the film's storytelling success, helping it connect deeply with both longtime fans and new viewers alike. Would you like me to provide examples of specific dialogues or scenes that illustrate these points? How to Train Your Dragon 2025, Dialogue and Script, an exhaustive analysis. In How to Train Your Dragon 2025, The screenplay operates on multiple levels, deftly balancing character-driven dialogue with broader thematic concerns. The film's scriptwriters have crafted a narrative rich in linguistic texture that enhances immersion, emotional resonance, and audience connection. 1. Dialogue that feels lived in and natural. The dialogue's authenticity is rooted in its ability to reflect how people might realistically speak within the cultural and situational context of the Viking world, without losing the poetic and mythic qualities befitting a fantasy epic. Distinctive voices and growth. Hiccup's dialogue exhibits clear evolution from earlier films. His speech is more contemplative and measured, showcasing his growth from a headstrong youth to a thoughtful leader. This maturation is evident in how he phrases ideas, not simply commanding, but inviting dialogue and showing vulnerability. In contrast, characters like Gobbo or Stoik provide gruffer, more pragmatic lines that reinforce their seasoned warrior status. The verbal interplay between Hiccup and his elders reveals generational contrasts, with Hiccup often negotiating respect and independence through his carefully chosen words. Conversational cadence and rhythm. The script employs varied sentence structures, short, clipped commands during battle or urgent moments, longer, flowing sentences in reflective scenes. This modulation of pace makes the dialogue dynamic and engaging, preventing it from becoming monotonous or artificial. Cultural vernacular. The writers skillfully incorporate elements of Old Norse influence in word choice and phrasing, without alienating modern audiences. This is done subtly, through titles, idioms, and references to Viking customs, adding flavor and grounding the speech patterns in the film's cultural setting. 2. Moments of sharp wit and humor. The script's humor is multi-layered, serving to develop characters, ease tension, and enrich world-building. Witty banter and repartee. Exchanges between Hiccup and Astrid sparkle with intelligent banter that feels earned through shared history. For example, Astrid's teasing comments about Hiccup's sometimes overcautious nature are met with self-deprecating quips, highlighting their rapport and mutual respect. Side characters like Fishlegs and Snotlout contribute humorous interjections that lighten heavier scenes without derailing narrative momentum. Their distinct personalities are expressed through humorous dialogue that feels spontaneous rather than scripted. Humor from dragons. Though non-verbal, dragons contribute comedic moments through physicality and expressive sounds, which the script accommodates through character reactions and timing of lines. For instance, toothless playful gestures often prompt dry or exasperated remarks from Hiccup, creating a layered humor dynamic. Situational irony and wordplay. The film also uses clever wordplay, often thematic or self-referential, to reward attentive viewers. Lines that play on dragon lore or Viking stereotypes appear at unexpected moments, giving the script a sense of sophistication and depth. 3. Emotional depth and weight. The screenplay's greatest strength lies in its capacity to convey complex emotions through dialogue that is nuanced, restrained, and authentic. Exploration of inner conflict. Hiccup's internal struggles, his doubts about leadership, fear of losing Toothless, and desire to protect his people, are communicated through carefully constructed lines that show rather than tell. His conversations with Astrid or Stoik are often layered with subtext, where what is unsaid is as important as what is said. Parent-child and mentor dynamics. The script sensitively portrays Stoik's relationship with Hiccup, using dialogue to reveal generational misunderstandings, expectations, and deep love. Stoik's gruff encouragement contrasts with Hiccup's gentler tone, highlighting their emotional journey toward mutual understanding. Loss and hope. In moments of crisis or loss, the dialogue turns sparse and poetic, avoiding melodrama but achieving profound emotional resonance. Phrases like "He's more than just a dragon," "He's my family," or even "In darkness, we carry the light of those who believe in us" linger as heartfelt declarations. 4. Thematic cohesion and impactful writing. The script is woven tightly around core themes of trust, freedom, and harmony between humans and dragons. Repeated motifs and thematic echoes. Throughout the script, certain motifs reappear as verbal cues that unify the narrative. For example, the phrase "fly free" is uttered in varying contexts: literal flight, personal freedom, and the freedom to choose one's path, deepening the emotional impact. Philosophical undertones in dialogue. The writing occasionally dips into reflective or philosophical dialogue, especially in quiet moments. Lines pondering the nature of fear, leadership, or identity enrich the story's intellectual texture and provide viewers with moments of introspection. 5. Standout lines and iconic quotes. Several lines from the film rise above as emblematic of its spirit and narrative arcs, destined to become memorable quotes for fans. Defining leadership and friendship. Lines such as "true strength lies not in power, but in understanding" encapsulate Hiccup's leadership philosophy and the film's moral center. Emotional core. The heartfelt declaration, "You saved me, but you gave me freedom too," spoken by Hiccup to Toothless, encapsulates the theme of mutual respect and bond beyond control. Humorous catchphrases. Comic relief characters deliver memorable one-liners that provide levity, like "Gob us dry if it's not broken," "Let's fix it anyway," or Fishleg's nerdy dragon trivia nuggets. Scene example, a closer look at dialogue in a key moment. In a pivotal scene where Hiccup must convince the village elders to embrace dragons as equals, the dialogue is a masterclass in persuasive writing. Hiccup's speech. His tone is calm but passionate, blending vulnerability with conviction. "We cannot fight what we don't understand. Our future depends on trust, not fear." Stoic's response. Initially resistant, his lines are terse but gradually soften. "I've fought dragons all my life. Maybe it's time I learned to fight beside them." Audience reaction. The subtle shifts in tone and pacing in this exchange carry immense emotional weight, illustrating character growth and thematic resolution without heavy exposition. Conclusion. The dialogue and script of How to Train Your Dragon 2025 represent a sophisticated blend of naturalism, humor, emotional depth, and thematic clarity. The writers achieve a delicate balance. Characters sound real and distinct, moments of levity and seriousness coexist seamlessly, and the narrative's central messages are reinforced through memorable, impactful lines. This screenplay invites audiences into a world where words carry meaning beyond their surface, shaping character arcs and enriching the film's emotional and intellectual experience. It stands as a shining example of how animated films can use dialogue not just to tell a story, but to deepen connection and resonance. If you want, I can also analyze specific character arcs or dialogue-style comparisons to previous films. Would that be helpful? How to Train Your Dragon 2025, Genre Execution, an in-depth analysis. How to Train Your Dragon 2025 operates primarily within the fantasy-adventure genre, blending elements of family drama, coming-of-age narrative, and epic quest. From a third-person perspective, the film both honors and refreshes genre conventions, delivering a nuanced balance of familiar motifs and innovative storytelling choices. 1. Following and subverting genre conventions. Classic fantasy tropes honored. The film embraces many hallmarks of the fantasy-adventure genre: mythical creatures, dragons, a hero's journey, ancient lore, and a clash between tradition and progress. The Viking setting, dragon riding sequences, and the overarching theme of harmony between humans and nature are familiar, beloved elements that fans expect and enjoy. Subversion through character complexity. While many fantasy tales rely on clear-cut heroes and villains, How to Train Your Dragon 2025 subverts this by presenting morally complex characters. For example, antagonistic forces are not purely evil but often motivated by fear, misunderstanding, or cultural conflict. This nuanced portrayal deepens the narrative and challenges simplistic binaries typical in the genre. Reimagining dragon lore. The film updates dragon mythology by emphasizing dragons as sentient beings with distinct personalities and rights, rather than mere beasts to be tamed or feared. This shift elevates the story beyond cliché man versus monster dynamics into a dialogue about coexistence and empathy. 2. Introducing fresh ideas. Ecological and social themes. Unlike traditional fantasy adventures focused solely on conquest or destiny, this film integrates modern themes like environmental stewardship, diversity, and community resilience. Dragons are portrayed as integral parts of the ecosystem, not just fantasy creatures, which resonates with contemporary ecological awareness. Innovative world building. The expansion of the setting beyond Berk into varied landscapes and cultures introduces fresh narrative possibilities. The exploration of dragon sanctuaries, ancient ruins, and new societies adds layers to the world, avoiding stagnation common in franchise sequels. Evolving leadership paradigm. The protagonist's leadership style challenges typical heroic archetypes. Hiccup embodies a collaborative, empathetic leader rather than a solitary warrior hero. This modern take on leadership adds depth and relevance, aligning the fantasy genre with evolving cultural values. 3. Balancing action, suspense, humor, and drama. Action. The film delivers visually spectacular and well-choreographed action sequences, dragon flights, battles, and escapes that are thrilling without overshadowing character development. The pacing of action scenes is strategic, providing excitement while allowing breathing space for emotional moments. Suspense. Suspense is carefully layered through narrative tension, character dilemmas, and stakes surrounding the dragon's safety and the village's future. The screenplay uses uncertainty and moral ambiguity to sustain tension, avoiding predictable outcomes. Humor. Humor is interwoven organically, balancing moments of levity against dramatic tension. The script uses character-driven jokes and situational comedy to humanize the story and prevent it from becoming too heavy, appealing to a broad audience. Drama. Emotional drama is given substantial weight, exploring themes of loss, identity, and belonging. The film avoids melodrama, instead opting for subtlety and authenticity in its dramatic arcs, ensuring that emotional beats feel earned and impactful. 4. Avoidance of genre cliches. Complex villainy. The film steers clear of one-dimensional villains. Even antagonists have understandable motivations, adding layers of empathy and conflict sophistication that elevate the story above typical fantasy cliches. Breaking the chosen one mold. Rather than a prophecy-driven narrative where destiny dictates the hero's path, the film emphasizes personal choice, growth, and collective effort. This approach freshens the coming-of-age formula prevalent in the genre. Subtle romance. Romantic elements, where present, are understated and integrated naturally into character development rather than dominating the plot or devolving into cliché love triangles. 5. Genre hybridization and emotional resonance. The film skillfully blends elements of fantasy, adventure, family drama, and coming-of-age genres, creating a hybrid that appeals across demographics. This synthesis enriches the narrative texture, allowing it to explore complex themes while maintaining broad entertainment value. Emotional resonance is enhanced by genre blending. For instance, the fantasy setting heightens the stakes of family and community conflicts, making personal dramas feel epic in scale without sacrificing intimacy. Conclusion. How to Train Your Dragon 2025 executes its genre with a masterful balance of tradition and innovation. It respects fantasy adventure conventions while thoughtfully subverting or expanding them to tell a richer, more mature story. By integrating fresh thematic concerns, complex characters, and a nuanced tone, the film avoids cliches and delivers a genre experience that is thrilling, heartfelt, and intellectually engaging. Its well-calibrated blend of action, suspense, humor, and drama ensures the film remains accessible and emotionally compelling, affirming its place as a standout entry in both the franchise and the broader fantasy adventure genre. Would you like me to break down how specific scenes exemplify these genre dynamics or analyze audience reception related to genre expectations? How to Train Your Dragon 2025, Social and Cultural Commentary, a thorough examination. How to Train Your Dragon 2025 transcends its fantasy adventure framework to deliver subtle but potent social and cultural commentary. From a third-person perspective, the film emerges as a reflective work that weaves contemporary themes about community, identity, and coexistence into its narrative without sacrificing storytelling or entertainment. 1. Statements on contemporary social issues. Diversity and inclusion. The film makes a deliberate statement about embracing diversity, not only among humans but also in the relationship between species. Dragons, with their variety of shapes, sizes, and temperaments, symbolize marginalized communities, and the narrative advocates for respect, understanding, and integration rather than fear or segregation. This message is conveyed naturally through character interactions and world-building rather than overt preachiness. Scenes showing villages overcoming prejudice or learning to collaborate with dragons feel grounded in authentic character development, making the social commentary feel earned and relatable. Environmental stewardship. The film subtly addresses ecological concerns, framing dragons as vital components of a balanced ecosystem. The narrative critiques exploitative attitudes toward nature and champions sustainability, coexistence, and respect for the natural world. This theme is integrated into the story through plot points involving the preservation of dragon habitats and the consequences of environmental imbalance, reflecting contemporary discourse on climate change and conservation in a way accessible to younger audiences. Community and cooperation. The film advocates for collective action and social cohesion in the face of challenges, highlighting the importance of unity across differences. This is mirrored in the storyline where diverse characters, both human and dragon, must overcome distrust to form a resilient community. This theme resonates with contemporary global issues around social fragmentation and polarization, presenting a hopeful vision of collaboration. 2. Political and cultural reflections. Power, leadership, and responsibility. The film explores political themes surrounding leadership styles and the exercise of power. Hiccup's empathetic, participatory leadership contrasts with more authoritarian figures, offering a commentary on contemporary governance that values inclusion, dialogue, and emotional intelligence. This portrayal feels integrated organically through character arcs rather than didactic speeches, lending subtlety to the political commentary. Conflict and reconciliation. The narrative addresses the cycles of conflict rooted in fear and misunderstanding, with clear parallels to real-world ethnic, cultural, or ideological clashes. The story's arc toward reconciliation underscores the possibility of healing historical wounds through empathy and communication. Such themes are woven into character backstories and plot developments, avoiding heavy-handedness while encouraging viewers to reflect on similar issues in the real world. Tradition versus progress. The tension between preserving cultural heritage and embracing change is a recurring theme. The film neither vilifies tradition nor blindly celebrates progress. Instead, it presents a nuanced dialogue about adapting values in a rapidly evolving world. 3. Handling sensitive and complex topics. Approach with nuance and respect. The film handles complex topics, such as grief, trauma, and prejudice, with sensitivity, avoiding simplification or trivialization. Emotional struggles are portrayed with depth, showing characters navigating pain and growth realistically. Avoidance of simplistic morality. Rather than casting social issues in black and white terms, the script embraces moral ambiguity, recognizing that fear and prejudice often stem from lived experiences and trauma. This approach fosters empathy rather than judgment. Accessibility for diverse audiences. While addressing weighty themes, the film maintains accessibility for younger viewers through metaphor, allegory, and relatable character experiences, ensuring that its commentary is both meaningful and age-appropriate. 4. Integration into storytelling. Organic embedding of themes. The film's social and cultural commentary feels woven into the fabric of the narrative rather than appended or forced. Character motivations, conflicts, and resolutions naturally embody these themes, ensuring the messages emerge through storytelling rather than overt exposition. Symbolism and metaphor. Dragons themselves serve as powerful metaphors for the other, those who are feared or misunderstood, and their journey toward acceptance parallels real-world struggles for recognition and equality. This metaphorical layer enriches the film's cultural commentary without disrupting narrative flow. Subtlety over didacticism. The film favors subtle storytelling cues and layered dialogue over explicit moralizing, trusting the audience to engage critically and draw their own conclusions. This sophistication respects viewers' intelligence and enhances rewatch value. Conclusion. How to Train Your Dragon 2025 stands out as a film that thoughtfully engages with social and cultural issues relevant to contemporary audiences. Its commentary on diversity, environmentalism, leadership, and reconciliation is seamlessly integrated into an accessible and compelling fantasy narrative. The film's nuanced treatment of sensitive topics, coupled with its avoidance of cliches or simplistic solutions, marks it as a mature, conscientious work. By embedding its messages naturally within character development and plot, it achieves a balance between entertainment and meaningful reflection, making it not only an engaging story but also a culturally significant one. If you want, I can also provide examples of specific scenes or dialogue that illustrate these social and cultural themes in action. Would that be helpful? How to Train Your Dragon 2025, Audience Engagement, a comprehensive analysis. How to Train Your Dragon 2025 excels in capturing and sustaining audience engagement through a rich emotional palette, expertly crafted storytelling, and moments designed to evoke laughter, tears, excitement, and thoughtful reflection. From a third-person perspective, the film stands out for its ability to forge deep connections with viewers across age groups, encouraging repeat viewings and meaningful discussions. 1. Emotional resonance. Heartfelt character arcs. The film invests heavily in well-developed character journeys, particularly that of Hiccup and Toothless, whose evolving friendship remains the emotional core. Audiences are drawn into their vulnerabilities, triumphs, and setbacks, creating an intimate bond that invites empathy. Emotional beats, such as scenes of separation, reunion, or sacrifice, are handled with subtlety and authenticity, avoiding melodrama. This nuanced portrayal allows viewers to genuinely feel the characters' struggles and growth, often leading to moments of quiet reflection or tears. Universal themes. Themes of identity, belonging, courage, and acceptance resonate broadly, appealing to viewers' own experiences and emotions. The film's exploration of overcoming fear and embracing difference connects deeply, eliciting a strong emotional response. Relatable family dynamics. Parent-child relationships and friendships are depicted with honesty and complexity, reflecting real-world emotional tensions and reconciliations. These portrayals engage audiences by mirroring familiar dynamics, making the stakes feel personal and immediate. 2. Moments that elicit strong reactions. Laughter. The film masterfully uses humor, both through witty dialogue and physical comedy, often involving dragons, to lighten tense moments and endear characters. These moments provide joyful relief and strengthen audience attachment to the characters. Tears. Scenes of loss, farewell, or heartfelt confession are crafted to evoke genuine tears. The emotional pacing ensures these moments have impact without overwhelming the narrative flow, making them feel earned rather than manipulative. Excitement and thrill. High-stakes dragon flight sequences and battles deliver adrenaline-pumping excitement. The immersive animation and dynamic choreography put audiences on the edge of their seats, combining visceral thrills with emotional investment. Shock and surprise. The film includes carefully timed plot twists and revelations that surprise viewers without resorting to cheap gimmicks. These moments deepen narrative complexity and keep the audience intellectually and emotionally engaged. 3. Invitation to discussion and reflection. Moral and ethical questions. The film's exploration of themes such as coexistence, leadership, and the consequences of fear invites viewers to contemplate real-world parallels. Discussions around these topics naturally arise post-viewing, whether in family conversations or fan communities. Character motivations and decisions. Ambiguous or multi-layered character choices prompt debate and analysis, encouraging audiences to revisit the film to glean deeper understanding or alternative interpretations. Social and environmental themes. The subtle integration of social issues and ecological awareness fosters reflection on contemporary challenges, often inspiring viewers, especially younger audiences, to think critically about their own roles in these matters. 4. Repeat viewings and longevity. Layered storytelling. The film's rich narrative and complex characters reward multiple viewings. Each revisit reveals new details, whether in dialogue nuance, thematic symbolism, or visual storytelling, keeping the experience fresh and engaging. Emotional re-experience. Many audiences find comfort and inspiration in the film's emotional core, leading to repeated watchings to relive uplifting or cathartic moments. Community and fandom engagement. The depth of the world-building and character relationships fosters active fan communities that engage in theory crafting, fan art, and discussions, further extending the film's cultural life beyond the screen. Conclusion. How to Train Your Dragon 2025 is a powerful example of a film that engages its audience on multiple levels, emotionally, intellectually, and socially. Through its heartfelt character arcs, balanced emotional highs and lows, and thought-provoking themes, it creates a resonant viewing experience that elicits laughter, tears, excitement, and contemplation. Its ability to invite reflection and discussion, combined with layered storytelling, ensures that it not only captivates audiences during initial viewings but continues to engage and inspire them long after the credits roll. This enduring connection marks it as a standout achievement in animated storytelling and audience engagement. If you want, I can provide specific scene examples illustrating these engagement points or explore how audience reception has reflected these qualities. Would you like that? How to Train Your Dragon 2025, Comparisons to Similar Films, an in-depth evaluation. How to Train Your Dragon 2025 occupies a distinctive place within the animated fantasy adventure genre, the beloved How to Train Your Dragon franchise, and the broader oeuvre of its director. From a third-person perspective, the film both builds on established successes and introduces fresh ideas, resulting in a work that respects its roots while pushing boundaries. 1. Comparison within the How to Train Your Dragon franchise. Continuation and growth. Unlike its predecessors, which largely focus on the discovery and bonding between humans and dragons, the 2025 installment shifts the narrative toward themes of leadership, societal integration, and ecological responsibility. This evolution marks a natural maturation in the franchise's story arc, reflecting the character's growth and the expanding world. Visual and technical advances. Technologically, the film showcases enhanced animation techniques and more intricate world building, surpassing earlier entries in visual complexity and realism. The dragon's designs and flight sequences exhibit new levels of dynamism and detail, elevating the sensory experience. Narrative depth. While the original trilogy balances action, humor, and coming-of-age themes, the 2025 film deepens its emotional and philosophical explorations. It introduces morally ambiguous conflicts and political intrigue absent or lightly touched upon in prior films, adding layers of sophistication. Tone and pacing. The 2025 film adopts a slightly more mature tone, balancing the franchise's signature light-hearted moments with gravitas appropriate for its evolving audience, including returning viewers who have grown alongside the series. 2. Comparison within the animated fantasy adventure genre. Against peers like How to Train Your Dragon's contemporaries. Compared to films like Frozen, Moana, or Tangled, How to Train Your Dragon 2025 stands out for its focus on complex world-building and exploration of socio-political themes within a fantasy setting. While many contemporary animated adventures center on personal identity and romance, this film broadens the scope to address community, leadership, and ecological balance. Balance of action and emotion. Its integration of high-adventure sequences with emotional depth rivals the best in the genre. Unlike some fantasy animations that skew heavily towards spectacle or humor, How to Train Your Dragon 2025 sustains a careful balance that enriches both the narrative and visual spectacle. Character complexity. The film's morally nuanced characters and avoidance of clear-cut villains distinguish it from genre peers that often rely on archetypal heroes and antagonists. This complexity invites older audiences while maintaining accessibility for younger viewers. 3. Comparison to the director's filmography. Director's signature style. The director, known for crafting emotionally resonant stories with strong character focus, brings a consistent sensibility to the film. This includes an emphasis on visual storytelling, intricate character dynamics, and thematic depth. Evolution of themes. Compared to previous works, the director advances themes of coexistence, leadership, and environmental stewardship more prominently in How to Train Your Dragon 2025, showcasing artistic growth and responsiveness to contemporary issues. Visual innovation. The film demonstrates the director's continued interest in pushing animation boundaries, utilizing new technologies and creative cinematography to immerse viewers in expansive, believable worlds. 4. Does the film offer something new or follow a familiar formula? Innovations. The film introduces fresh thematic layers, political complexity, ecological messages, and mature leadership struggles that differentiate it from both its predecessors and comparable genre films. Its approach to dragon lore as a metaphor for social inclusion and environmental balance is a novel narrative choice. Familiar elements. It retains core franchise hallmarks, the focus on the bond between humans and dragons, spectacular flight sequences, humor, and coming-of-age arcs. These familiar elements provide a comforting continuity for fans. Risk and reward. By blending familiarity with innovation, the film appeals to loyal audiences while attracting new viewers seeking richer, more nuanced storytelling in animated fantasy. Conclusion. How to Train Your Dragon 2025 holds a unique position when compared to similar films, the franchise, and the director's past works. It respects the successful formula established by earlier installments and genre benchmarks while expanding its narrative and thematic ambitions. Its sophisticated world-building, moral complexity, and engagement with contemporary social issues elevate it beyond a mere sequel or genre exercise, offering audiences a fresh, mature, and visually stunning experience. This duality of honoring tradition and embracing innovation cements its status as a standout film in modern animated fantasy adventure cinema. If desired, I can also offer specific scene or character comparisons highlighting these points further. Would you like that? How to Train Your Dragon 2025, in-depth comparisons to similar films. 1. Within the How to Train Your Dragon franchise. Narrative and thematic evolution. The 2025 installment marks a significant evolution from the original trilogy. Where the first films concentrated on the discovery of dragons and the initial building of trust between species, this film shifts focus toward mature themes of political governance, societal integration, and environmental conservation. Unlike the trilogy's predominantly personal journeys, this film expands the scope to communal and global stakes, showing how the characters' decisions affect entire civilizations. Character development complexity. Hiccup, who started as a misfit outsider, is now a leader grappling with the heavy burdens of power and diplomacy. This contrasts with earlier entries where his growth was more inward and identity-driven. The 2025 film challenges him with morally ambiguous dilemmas, such as balancing tradition with progress or security with freedom, which were less prominent in prior films. Visual and technical mastery. Leveraging advancements in animation technology, the film presents more intricate dragon designs, realistic textures, and immersive environments. Flight sequences are choreographed with heightened fluidity and dynamic camera work, surpassing even the groundbreaking scenes of the trilogy's finale. The level of detail in natural landscapes, ranging from dense forests to coastal cliffs, shows a clear technological leap. Tone and emotional range. While the original trilogy blended humor and drama skillfully, the 2025 film ventures into darker and more mature emotional territory. It explores grief, sacrifice, and leadership fatigue with a gravitas previously unseen, aligning with the aging of its core audience. Yet, it retains the warmth and humor characteristic of the franchise, maintaining accessibility. 2. Compared to other animated fantasy adventures. World-building depth compared to films like Frozen or Moana. While Frozen and Moana focus heavily on personal quests framed by mythic settings, How to Train Your Dragon 2025 emphasizes expansive world-building and political ecology. The introduction of dragon sanctuaries, intricate societal structures, and environmental crises adds layers of complexity beyond the scope of many genre contemporaries. Character moral ambiguity. The film distinguishes itself by avoiding clear-cut heroes and villains. Unlike Tangled or Frozen, where antagonists are often straightforward, the 2025 film presents conflicts rooted in fear and misunderstanding, encouraging viewers to consider multiple perspectives. This complexity mirrors trends in mature storytelling seen in recent adult animations and series. Balance of spectacle and story. The film resists the trap of prioritizing visual spectacle over narrative coherence, a criticism sometimes leveled at big-budget fantasy animations. Action sequences are thrilling but serve to deepen character arcs or thematic concerns, rather than existing solely for entertainment. 3. In relation to the director's filmography. Consistent artistic voice with evolving themes. The director's previous works often explore themes of identity, belonging, and emotional resilience. The 2025 film reflects this signature style but advances into new territory by foregrounding leadership and environmental stewardship. This thematic growth signals a maturation in the director's storytelling approach, echoing broader shifts towards socially conscious cinema. Visual storytelling innovations. Known for cinematic compositions and emotive visuals, the director pushes boundaries in this film through innovative use of lighting, color palettes, and aerial cinematography. Scenes involving dragon flight employ immersive POV shots that deepen audience identification and exhilaration. Emotional nuance and subtext. The director's subtle layering of emotional subtext, such as nonverbal exchanges between characters and symbolic use of landscapes, elevates the film's storytelling. Compared to earlier, more straightforward narratives, this film invites repeated viewing to unpack its richness. 4. Innovations versus familiarity. New narrative dimensions. The introduction of political intrigue, environmental crises, and moral ambiguity are bold narrative expansions that differentiate this film from both its franchise predecessors and genre peers. The portrayal of dragons as ecological keystones is a fresh angle rarely explored in animated fantasy. Retention of franchise DNA. Key franchise elements remain intact. The intimate bond between human and dragon, themes of friendship and bravery, and awe-inspiring flight. These familiar cornerstones provide continuity and fan service, anchoring the film's new directions in beloved traditions. Audience growth considerations. The film skillfully adapts to the franchise's aging audience, offering more complex storytelling and emotional depth without alienating younger viewers. This dual-layered approach reflects a trend in modern animation to engage diverse age groups simultaneously. Conclusion. How to Train Your Dragon 2025 stands as both a continuation and an evolution. It honors the franchise's roots while boldly exploring mature themes rarely addressed in mainstream animated fantasy. Its sophisticated characters, rich world-building, and seamless blend of spectacle with substantive storytelling position it as a landmark film that elevates genre expectations. When compared to similar films and the director's earlier work, it emerges as a mature, thoughtful, and visually spectacular piece, one that invites viewers to not only enjoy its adventures but also reflect on leadership, coexistence, and environmental responsibility. Would you like me to include detailed scene breakdowns or specific character comparisons that exemplify these points? How to Train Your Dragon 2025, Symbolism and Metaphors, a detailed exploration. How to Train Your Dragon 2025 employs rich symbolism and layered metaphors throughout its narrative and visual design, adding profound depth to the story. From a third-person perspective, these elements work in concert to enhance the film's core themes of identity, coexistence, leadership, and environmental balance, inviting audiences to engage beyond the surface adventure. 1. Dragons as metaphors for the other and diversity. Symbol of difference and acceptance. Dragons in the film symbolize marginalized or misunderstood groups, those feared or ostracized because they are different. Their diverse species, behaviors, and appearances reflect the broad spectrum of identity and culture in human society. The evolving relationships between humans and dragons metaphorically explore themes of prejudice, fear, and ultimately acceptance. Metaphor for inner strength and growth. Dragons also represent latent potential within individuals and communities. Just as characters learn to understand and harness their dragon's strengths, the film metaphorically encourages self-discovery and embracing one's unique traits. Visual cues. The color schemes and physical features of dragons, ranging from fiery reds symbolizing passion to serene blues embodying wisdom, function as visual shorthand for their metaphorical roles, reinforcing character arcs and thematic messaging. 2. Flight as a recurring motif of freedom and transcendence. Freedom and escape. Flight scenes are not just thrilling spectacles but carry symbolic weight. Flying represents liberation, from fear, societal constraints, or personal doubt. Characters experience moments of transcendence and self-actualization while airborne, visually communicating their inner transformations. Connection and unity. The physical bond between rider and dragon during flight serves as a metaphor for trust, cooperation, and interdependence. This motif underscores the film's advocacy for harmonious coexistence and mutual respect. Visual and narrative echoes. Recurring aerial shots and flight patterns visually echo the film's themes of rising above conflict and embracing a broader perspective, literally and figuratively. 3. The Dragon Sanctuary, symbol of hope and balance. Ecological and social harmony. The sanctuary where dragons and humans coexist peacefully symbolizes an ideal of environmental balance and social integration. It stands as a metaphorical safe haven where diversity is celebrated and past conflicts are healed. Contrast with other settings. Juxtaposed with harsher, more militarized or divided locations, the sanctuary visually and thematically embodies the film's aspirational vision for coexistence and sustainability. Architectural symbolism. The sanctuary's design, organic, flowing, and integrated with nature, visually reinforces themes of harmony and respect for the environment, contrasting with rigid, fortress-like human settlements representing fear and separation. 4. Fire and ice imagery, conflict and resolution. Duality and balance. The recurring imagery of fire and ice throughout the film symbolizes opposing forces such as destruction and preservation, passion and calm, conflict and peace. This duality is woven into character motivations and environmental challenges. Transformation through balance. Narrative arcs often involve characters learning to balance these elemental forces within themselves and their communities, metaphorically reflecting the necessity of compromise and understanding in resolving conflicts. Visual motifs. Scenes featuring flames flickering against snowy landscapes, or dragons breathing fire amidst icy cliffs, visually dramatize this theme, enhancing emotional and thematic impact. 5. Broken and mended objects. Symbolism of healing and growth. Physical metaphors for emotional states. The film frequently uses broken or damaged objects, such as shattered weapons, torn maps, or cracked relics, as metaphors for fractured relationships or societies. Mending as a narrative device. The act of repairing these objects parallels the healing of wounds, both personal and communal. This symbolism reinforces themes of reconciliation and renewal. Visual details. Close-ups of these objects, often in quiet, reflective scenes, encourage viewers to contemplate the parallels between physical and emotional restoration. 6. Recurring visual motifs, the spiral and the circle. Cycle of life and change. Spiral patterns appear in dragon wing designs, architectural elements, and natural formations, symbolizing growth, evolution, and the cyclical nature of life. Wholeness and unity. Circles frequently frame key scenes or symbols, representing unity, inclusivity, and the interconnectedness of all beings. These shapes visually reinforce the film's themes of community and harmony. Subtle integration. These motifs are woven seamlessly into the background and foreground, often unnoticed consciously but contributing subliminally to thematic cohesion. Conclusion. In How to Train Your Dragon 2025, symbolism and metaphor are not mere decorative elements but integral to the storytelling. Dragons as embodiments of otherness, flight as liberation, sanctuaries as ecological utopias, and elemental contrasts of fire and ice all work together to deepen the narrative's emotional and intellectual resonance. The film's rich visual cues and recurring motifs invite viewers to look beyond the surface adventure, offering a layered experience that rewards attentive viewing and reflection. This sophisticated use of symbolism enhances the film's exploration of identity, coexistence, leadership, and environmental stewardship, making it a compelling and thought-provoking addition to animated cinema. Would you like me to identify specific scenes or visual sequences that showcase these symbolic elements in action? How to Train Your Dragon Franchise, 2025. Franchise and Historical Context Analysis. The How to Train Your Dragon franchise, originating from Cressida Kyle's book series and brought to global prominence by DreamWorks Animation, has, by 2025, established itself as one of the most beloved and enduring animated sagas in contemporary cinema. Spanning multiple feature films, television series, and various spin-offs, the franchise's narrative and thematic depth have evolved significantly over time, contributing to its lasting appeal and cultural impact. Contribution to the overarching narrative. The franchise centers on the journey of Hiccup Horrendous Haddock III, a young Viking who defies his clan's traditional views on dragons, fear and combat, and instead forges an unprecedented bond with Toothless, a night fury dragon. This relationship becomes a cornerstone of the franchise's larger narrative arc, which evolves from individual growth and understanding to themes of coexistence, leadership, and legacy. By 2025, the franchise's narrative trajectory has moved through three main feature films: How to Train Your Dragon, 2010, How to Train Your Dragon 2, 2014, and How to Train Your Dragon: The Hidden World, 2019, along with TV series such as Dragons: Race to the Edge. Each installment deepens the overarching story. The first film introduces the conflict between Vikings and dragons, focusing on breaking down prejudice and fear. The second film expands the world, exploring political dynamics, the responsibilities of leadership, and the complexities of family legacy. The third film concludes the saga by addressing themes of freedom, sacrifice, and the inevitable change that comes with growth and maturity. Through this narrative progression, the franchise explores not only fantastical adventure but also profound human experiences such as trust, acceptance, and the bittersweet nature of farewells. By 2025, this storyline has matured, resonating with audiences both young and old, while leaving room for continued exploration in spin-offs and potential future installments. Historical context and accuracy. Though the How to Train Your Dragon franchise is fundamentally a fantasy rooted in Viking-inspired mythology, it is deeply informed by historical and cultural elements of the Viking Age, circa 8th to 11th centuries. The filmmakers drew extensively on Norse culture, Viking societal structures, seafaring traditions, and landscape aesthetics to create a rich, immersive world that feels authentic despite its mythical creatures. Cultural inspiration. The portrayal of the Viking clan, its customs, social hierarchy, and warrior ethos, reflects many aspects documented in historical sources. The emphasis on honor, exploration, and community loyalty aligns well with Viking values, albeit romanticized and softened for a family audience. Visual and environmental realism. The animation team's detailed rendering of the rugged Nordic landscapes, architecture, and ship designs draws heavily from archaeological findings and historical scholarship. This environmental authenticity grounds the fantastic elements and enhances viewer immersion. Mythical integration. Dragons, while fictional, are woven into the cultural tapestry in a way that mirrors how Norse mythology often incorporated fantastical beasts. The narrative treats dragons as natural parts of this imagined world, akin to how